Greedflation. What is it? Why is it so dangerous? Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for more survivalists, and again, talking about the economic aspect of survival and preparedness. If you want to learn more about just that, you have Surviving the Economic Collapse, my book available in Amazon in the links below, as well as Street Survival Skills. You want to get both of these if you want to prepare for what's already happening. So, greedflation is this concept by which it's not inflation in the more traditional sense, which is a loss of value of a fiat currency because of how much of that there is. The more money there is, the less valuable it becomes. Governments are tempted always to just print a little bit more money. It's not them who's going to be paying the real price of that. It's coming out of your bag, so why not do it? That's why inflation is always so tempting, because it transfers the wealth from the average people into the companies, some of the largest firms on the planet that have these arrangements, these deals, and get most of that sweet money from government contracts. And it transfers all of that cost to the people that have to pay for it with blood and sweat out of their hard labor. Now, in terms of greedflation, it's a little bit different, because it's simply the raising the prices of things just because I can. And in a free market, that's perfectly fine. You have the right to charge whatever you want. If I want to sell this pen for $100 why not do it? $100. Yeah, you'll buy it. Okay, I'll sell it for $100. What if it's worth maybe $1,000 and people will just take it out of my hands for $1,000? Well, $1,000 it is. What if I have to find a very affordable price so as to sell a lot of that? What, $5, $10? Well, you do the numbers, you run the numbers, you test a little bit of a few prices, you see what gives you the most profit, and that's what a for-profit company basically will go for, right? And that's perfectly fine. In a free market, that's perfectly fine. The problem is that we don't have a free market of any kind. We have a market that is completely controlled by the elite, and the idea that you just have the choice of finding something cheaper is not always the case. So in terms of basic necessities such as food, energy, healthcare, you don't have much of a choice. You just have to go with whatever you find cheapest. And if the companies that provide these basic necessities are all in collusion so as to have you cornered with a certain price, you're kind of screwed, kind of out of luck. Global greedflation, big firms driving shopping bills to records high. And so it goes. Large corporations have fueled inflation with price increases that go beyond rising costs of raw materials and wages, pushing shopping bills to records high, according to an analyst of hundreds of companies' accounts. So this is the thing that we were told. In the media, you were told that, well, prices are going up because of energy prices, because of raw materials, because of the war in Ukraine and wheat. All of a sudden, wheat is the largest producer of food of all kinds. So if there's a war in Ukraine, prices go up. It is not. Let's not be naive. Let's not be stupid. If you have a company and you see that you can raise prices, why not do that? Well, in a free market, it would naturally correct into someone that is willing to offer something cheaper and still make a good amount of profit. In the commie capitalist monstrosity aberration that we live in economic terms, you have this problem with greedflation. Highlighting a trend dubbed greedflation, the research indicates supermarkets companies among hundreds of major firms have there it goes. So food manufacturers and shipping companies are among hundreds of major firms who have, again, major firms. It's not the small producer. It's not the guy, he's probably getting the same cut that he always did, maybe even less so. It's about these major firms who have improved their profits and protected shareholder dividends, giving an extra lift to prices, while the cost of living crisis has meant workers face the biggest fall in living standards in a century. This is from The Guardian. This is from UK. But this same thing is happening in the United States. It is especially happening in the United States, especially given that the lobbying that takes place is something that it does not exist in most other countries. The idea of lobbying is simply called corruption. When a firm pays a politician to do their bidding, that is just corruption. It is illegal and lands you in jail. In the United States, it's called lobbying. So you have that option of doing business in a very non-free market style. Okay, so the key word here is the way in which they've increased profits. Profits is what's driving inflation right now. When energy companies are telling you that they have to raise the prices because of the war in Ukraine, because of climate change, and they say these bullshit things. This is, again, from BBC, right? The other one is from The Guardian. Inflation. 7 reasons why the cause of rising energy prices. Bullshit. Good shortage. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. It's climate impact. You can't make this crap up. It is not true. They're just raising prices because they can. And it's not just raising prices to adjust because of the cost. They are increasing the profit. Do you know the difference? The difference is that a few years ago, they would make 100. Now, they're making 110. They're adjusting for their own inflation that they create themselves in many cases, and even beyond that. It is accelerating the transfer of wealth from the entire planet to the elite. This is super dangerous. It is particularly dangerous in a place like the United States where you have so little protection from corporate greed and corporate manipulation of prices. Greed is not bad. It's not bad to be greedy in terms of I want to make money, if that's what you understand by greed. At least for me, greed is beyond a natural desire for personal wealth. Greed is when that's the only thing you can focus on. I have things that are more important than money. There's things that I could not possibly buy with money. Or if I end up losing, there's no amount of money in the world that would make life better for me if I lose my family, my loved ones, the things that make my life worth it. But for certain people, money is the only thing that matters. And for those people and for that kind of mentality, greed can be a problem for the rest of us. If they have no personal problem with squeezing as much money as they can from everyone they can by any methods they can absolutely engage, they will do that, and that ends up affecting all of us. So just be aware of what's going on. What is that you do in terms of preparing for all of this? Be as independent as you can. In terms of food production, starting growing your own food, man, maybe it's going to be something you have done so already. Maybe it's something that you're happy you started doing. In my experience, it's not really food the thing that makes it or breaks it. It's other aspects. But just keep this in mind. If you live in the United States and you see this happening more and more, I would just try to assess this and take it into account. How far can you go? How much little protection can you get away with? Not in terms of food, but in terms of healthcare, in terms of education. Oh, I'll just, my kid won't go to college, or he will go and he will have a, multiple $100 debt because he wanted to study, he wanted to get a degree. Well, maybe that's something to keep in mind. Maybe that's something to consider. I definitely did that myself, and this just didn't work for me. The idea of having 3 kids and having to pay $200,000 or $100,000, more like $200,000 for a degree in engineering in a good university, man, that is ridiculous. But it is the way it is in some parts of the world, and other ones not so much. So stay informed, make the best decisions for you. These are the topics I cover here in the channel all the time. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. As always, you have the books too available in Amazon. See you next time. Take care.